The morning sun painted golden stripes across the marble floors of the Matthews residence. A modern masterpiece of glass and steel perched on the hills overlooking Seattle. Devin Matthews stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his home office, phone pressed to his ear, discussing the latest merger that would expand his tech empire into Asian markets. At 42, he had built Tech Vision Industries from a garage startup into a billion-dollar corporation. And every decision he made seemed to turn into gold. "Push the Tokyo meeting to Thursday," Devin said, his voice carrying the confidence of a man who had never known failure. "And tell the board I want the full analysis by noon." Behind him, the house hummed with quiet luxury. Every piece of furniture had been carefully selected, every artwork perfectly positioned. It was a showcase of success, featured in Architectural Digest just 6 months ago. But if Devin had bothered to look beyond the surface, he might have noticed how empty it felt. Rachel Matthews moved through the kitchen like a ghost in her own home. At 36, she still turned heads with her warm brown eyes and honey blonde hair that fell in soft waves past her shoulders. She wore a cream silk blouse and tailored navy pants, dressed for a life she no longer lived. Once, she had been a sought-after interior designer, creating spaces that felt like home for wealthy clients across the Pacific Northwest. Now, she spent her days maintaining a perfect house that never felt lived in. She poured coffee into a ceramic mug, watching the dark liquid swirl. The kitchen was her design, all white marble countertops and custom cabinetry, with a view of the water that people would pay millions for. Yet standing here made her feel more alone than she ever had in her tiny studio apartment back when she was starting her career. Her phone vibrated on the counter. Rachel glanced at it, then picked it up quickly. The message read, "Today at 3. I know this is hard, but you're doing the right thing. Stay strong." Rachel's fingers trembled slightly as she typed a response. She didn't notice Devin had finished his call and was walking toward the kitchen. "Good morning," he said, more out of habit than genuine greeting. He moved past her to grab his briefcase, already mentally reviewing his schedule. "Morning," Rachel replied, setting her phone face down on the counter. Devin paused, struck by something in her tone. When was the last time he had really looked at his wife? She seemed thinner, he noticed now, and there were shadows under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. "Are you okay?" he asked. Rachel looked up at him, and for a moment he saw something in her expression. Hope, maybe, or desperation. But it vanished quickly. "I'm fine," she said. "Just tired," Devin nodded, accepting the easy answer. "I have meetings until 8 tonight." "Don't wait up." "Never do," Rachel said softly. He didn't catch the sadness in those 3 words. He was already checking his own phone, scrolling through emails as he headed for the garage. The day unfolded as it always did for Devin. Back-to-back meetings. Conference calls, with investors in London and Singapore. A working lunch where he barely tasted the expensive sushi. His assistant Emily kept him on schedule, moving him from one commitment to the next like a well-oiled machine. It was almost 6 in the evening when Devin realized he had left an important contract at home. He canceled his dinner meeting and drove back to the house, irritated by the inconvenience. The house was quiet when he entered. Too quiet. Rachel's car was in the garage, but he didn't see her anywhere on the main floor. Devin headed to his office, searching for the contract, when he heard water running upstairs. Rachel must be in the shower. He walked through the living room and noticed Rachel's phone on the coffee table, screen glowing with a new message notification. Devin wouldn't have looked. He had never been the jealous type, never had reason to doubt Rachel. But something made him glance at the screen. The message preview showed, "Jay, I'll be there like I promised. You're braver than you know." Devin's heart lurched. His hand reached for the phone before he could stop himself. It was unlocked, and the full conversation filled the screen. The messages went back weeks. Jay sent encouraging words almost daily. "You deserve happiness. This takes courage. But you're worth it. I'm here for you. Always." And Rachel's response is, "I don't know if I can do this. It feels like giving up. But I can't keep living like this." Devin's mind spun. The contract forgotten, he sank onto the sofa, still holding Rachel's phone. Who was Jay? And what exactly was Rachel planning to do? His hands shook as he scrolled further back. The messages became more intimate, more personal. Jay knew things about Rachel that Devin had forgotten or never bothered to learn. Her favorite flowers were peonies, not roses. She loved old jazz music. She missed painting, something she used to do before they married. The water stopped running upstairs. Devin heard the bathroom door open. He should put the phone down. He should pretend he never saw anything. Instead, he kept reading, each message feeding a growing fire of suspicion and hurt. "I saw him today at the pier," Rachel had written 2 weeks ago. "I remembered when we used to walk there, back when he still saw me. He'll see you again," Jay had responded. "Some people just need the right wake-up call." Devin stood up abruptly, the phone still in his hand. His breath came in short, angry bursts. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of providing everything she could want. This house, the cars, the lifestyle. And this was how she repaid him? Rachel appeared at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a white bathrobe, her damp hair leaving wet spots on the terry cloth. She stopped when she saw him standing there with her phone. "Devin? I thought you had meetings all night. Who is Jay?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. Rachel's face went pale. She descended the stairs slowly, her hand gripping the railing. "You went through my phone? Answer the question. Who is Jay? It's not what you think." "You have no idea what I think." Devin held up the phone. "Weeks of messages. Secret meetings. Someone telling you that you're brave, that you deserve happiness. What am I supposed to think, Rachel?" Tears welled in Rachel's eyes, but her voice remained steady. "You're supposed to think that your wife has been so lonely, so invisible in her own marriage, that she needed to talk to someone. Anyone, by sneaking around. By lying? Like you have any right to talk about being present in this marriage?" Rachel shot back, her composure cracking. "When was the last time you asked me about my day and actually listened to the answer? When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about your meetings or your deals?" Devin stared at her, momentarily thrown by her anger. "I work hard to give you this life. Never asked for this life. I asked for a partner. I asked for a husband who saw me as more than another beautiful thing in his perfect house." The words hit Devin like physical blows. "So you found someone else who would see you. Is that what this is?" Rachel laughed, but it was a broken sound. "You still don't understand. You're standing there with my phone, reading my private conversations. And you still can't see what's right in front of you. Then explain it to me." Rachel wiped her eyes. "Jay is Dr. Jennifer Morrison. She's a marriage counselor. I've been seeing her for the past 2 months because I didn't know how else to save us, or if we were even worth saving anymore." The confession hung in the air between them. Devin's anger faltered, replaced by confusion. "A therapist?" "Yes, a therapist. Because I've been trying to figure out why I feel like I'm drowning in this perfect life you've built. Why I wake up next to you every morning and feel completely alone."
Right.
Devin set the phone down carefully on the entry table. His mind was reeling, trying to reconcile what he thought he knew with this new reality. "You never said anything," he managed. "I tried. 6 months ago, I asked if we could talk about us. You said you had a conference call. 3 months ago, I suggested we take a weekend away. You said you couldn't leave work. Last month, I told you I was unhappy. You asked if I wanted to redecorate the living room." Each example was like a knife. Devin remembered those moments now, vaguely, through the filter of his constant distraction. "I didn't know it was that bad," he said quietly. "That's the problem, Devin. You didn't know because you didn't look." Devin didn't sleep that night. He lay in their king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling while Rachel slept fitfully beside him, or pretended to sleep. He couldn't tell anymore. How long had they been strangers sharing a bedroom? At dawn, he gave up trying to rest and went downstairs to his office. But instead of opening his laptop, he sat in the leather chair and thought about the previous evening. After their confrontation, they had retreated to opposite corners of the house. Rachel had gone to the guest room. Devin had poured himself a scotch he didn't drink and stood at the windows watching the lights of Seattle twinkle below. The sun rose over Puget Sound, painting the water in shades of pink and gold. Devin remembered the first time he had brought Rachel to see this view, back when this house was just blueprints and dreams. She had been excited then, sketching ideas for how to make each room feel warm despite the modern architecture. When had that excitement died? And why hadn't he noticed? His phone buzzed with morning emails, but Devin ignored them. Instead, he searched for Dr. Jennifer Morrison online. Her website showed a professional woman in her 50s with kind eyes and an impressive list of credentials. Specialties included marriage counseling, communication therapy, and helping couples reconnect. The testimonials spoke of saved marriages and rediscovered love. Devin's chest tightened reading them. Other couples had problems and fixed them. Why hadn't Rachel told him directly? Why sneak around to therapy? But he knew why. Because he would have dismissed it, would have said they were fine, would have promised to work on things and then done nothing. Just like he had done with every other concern Rachel had tried to raise. At 8 in the morning, Rachel came downstairs. She wore jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Without makeup, she looked younger and more vulnerable than the polished woman who usually graced his arm at charity galas. "We need to talk," she said, pouring herself coffee. Devin nodded. "I know." They sat at the kitchen island, the marble surface cold and impersonal between them. Rachel wrapped her hands around her mug, as if trying to draw warmth from it. "I wasn't having an affair," she began. "I need you to understand that. Jennifer has been helping me figure out what I want, what I need, and what do you need?" Devin's voice was rough from lack of sleep. Rachel looked at him directly. "I need to know if this marriage is worth fighting for, and I can't answer that alone. Of course it's worth fighting for. Rachel, I love you. Do you?" The question was soft, but devastating. "Or do you love the idea of me? The wife who looks good at events, who keeps your home perfect, who never demands too much of your time or attention." Devin wanted to protest, but the words stuck in his throat. Because wasn't that exactly what their marriage had become? A convenient arrangement that looked perfect from the outside. "I want to try," he said finally. "Tell me what to do. It's not about doing one thing, Devin. It's about changing everything. And I don't know if you're capable of that. Your work has always come first." "Hey, that's not fair." "I built Tech Vision for us. For our future. We don't need more money. We need each other."
Ow.
Rachel set down her mug. "I have an appointment with Jennifer this afternoon. I want you to come with me." Devin's first instinct was to check his schedule to say he had meetings. But he caught himself. This was exactly what Rachel meant. Always another meeting, another deal, another reason why work came before them. "What time?" he asked. Rachel's eyes widened slightly as if she hadn't expected him to agree. 3 o'clock, downtown. I'll be there." The hours until the appointment crawled by. Devin tried to work but couldn't focus. He kept thinking about the messages he had read, about the pain in Rachel's voice last night. How had he missed so much? At 2:30, he left the office, ignoring Emily's surprised expression. He met Rachel in the parking garage of a modest office building. Nothing like the gleaming towers where he usually conducted business. They rode the elevator in silence. Rachel's hands twisted together nervously, and Devin almost reached for them but stopped himself. Did he even know how to comfort his own wife anymore? Dr. Jennifer Morrison's office was nothing like Devin expected. Instead of the cold, clinical space he imagined, it was warm and inviting. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, and watercolor paintings of Pacific Northwest landscapes on the walls. Dr. Morrison herself rose to greet them, her handshake firm and her smile genuine. "Devin, I'm glad you could join us today," she said, as if his presence was welcomed rather than suspicious. "Please, both of you, sit wherever you're comfortable." Rachel chose the love seat, and after a moment's hesitation, Devin sat beside her. Not touching, but close enough that he could feel her warmth. "Rachel has been seeing me for 2 months now," Dr. Morrison began, settling into a chair across from them. "She's been working through some difficult feelings about your marriage. I think it would help if you understood where she's coming from." Devin glanced at Rachel, who was staring at her hands. "I'm listening," Dr. Morrison nodded. "Rachel, would you like to share what brought you to me in the first place?" Rachel took a shaky breath. "I woke up one morning 6 months ago and realized I couldn't remember the last time Devin and I had a real conversation. Not about schedules or logistics, but about feelings, dreams, fears. We were living parallel lives in the same house. You didn't feel you could talk to Devin about this." Dr. Morrison prompted gently. "I tried. Multiple times, but he was always busy, always distracted. I started to wonder if he even noticed I was there anymore." Rachel's voice cracked. I felt like a ghost in my own life. Devin's throat constricted. I'm here now. I'm listening now. But for how long? Rachel turned to look at him, tears streaming down her face. How long before the next big deal, the next crisis at work, the next excuse to put me last? That's a fair question, Dr. Morrison interjected. Devin, your work is clearly important to you. Can you help us understand why it takes up so much of your time and energy? Devin was silent for a long moment. No one had ever asked him that before. They praised his success, envied his wealth, but never questioned the cost. My father was a factory worker, he said slowly. We had nothing growing up. I watched him work himself to death for pennies, always one paycheck away from losing everything. I swore I would never be in that position, that I would build something that couldn't be taken away. And you succeeded, Dr. Morrison said. Beyond most people's wildest dreams. But at some point, was it still about security? Or did it become about something else? Devin rubbed his face. I don't know. Maybe it became about proving I was worth something, that I mattered. You matter to me, Rachel said softly. Or at least you used to. Before you disappeared into your empire, I'm right here. No, you're not. You haven't been here for years. Your body shows up, but your mind is always somewhere else. Planning, strategizing, conquering. There's no room left for me. The words landed like bombs. Devin wanted to argue, to defend himself. But everything Rachel said was true. He thought about all the dinners where he had answered emails while she talked. The vacations he had canceled for board meetings. The nights he had come to bed after she was already asleep because he was working late. I didn't realize he whispered. I know. That's almost worse. I've been drowning right next to you, and you didn't even notice. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Devin Rachel came to me because she was considering divorce. She felt invisible, unimportant, and utterly alone in her marriage. Those feelings don't develop overnight. They build over years of small abandonments.
Ow.
Divorce. The word hit Devin like a punch to the gut. Rachel, you want to leave me? Rachel wiped her eyes. I don't know what I want anymore. I came to Jennifer hoping she could help me figure it out. Whether to stay and keep trying, or walk away before I completely lose myself. Please don't leave. Devin's voice broke. I know I've been terrible. I know I've failed you. But please, give me a chance to fix this. It's not about one grand gesture, Devin. Jennifer has been helping me understand that. I don't need you to buy me something expensive or take me on an elaborate trip. I need you to show up. Every day, in small ways. To see me, hear me, value me. Dr. Morrison nodded. That's the heart of it. Rachel doesn't need a perfect husband. She needs a present one. Someone who chooses her not just once at a wedding, but every single day after. Devin looked at his wife, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. He saw the pain etched in the lines around her eyes, the sadness in the set of her shoulders. This vibrant, creative woman he had fallen in love with had been fading away, and he had been too busy building his empire to notice. I want to learn, he said. I want to be that husband. Tell me how. Dr. Morrison smiled slightly. That's a start. But Devin, you need to understand something. This isn't a business problem you can solve with strategy and determination. This is about emotional availability, vulnerability, and consistent daily choices. Are you willing to do the hard work? Devin thought about his schedule, packed with meetings and deals that seemed so important hours ago. He thought about the merger in Tokyo, the expansion plans, the board presentations, and then he looked at Rachel, really looked at her, and understood with perfect clarity that none of it meant anything if he lost her.
Yes.
He said firmly. Whatever it takes. Rachel met his eyes, searching for something. Devin wasn't sure if she found it, but after a long moment, she nodded slowly. Then we start small, Dr. Morrison said. Today, I want you both to go home and have dinner together. No phones, no distractions. Just talk. Can you do that? It seemed like such a simple request. But as Devin thought about actually sitting across from Rachel with nothing to hide behind, no email to check, no call to take, he realized how terrifying it was. When had he forgotten how to just be with his wife? We can do that, Rachel said, looking at Devin questioningly. He reached out and took her hand. It was cool and delicate in his, and he realized he couldn't remember the last time they had held hands. Yes, we can do that. As they left Dr. Morrison's office, Devin felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind him was everything he had built, the safe predictability of work and success. Ahead was uncertain territory, the scary vulnerability of true intimacy. But Rachel's hand was still in his, and for the first time in years, he chose to step forward. The drive home was quiet, but it was a different kind of silence than the empty void that usually filled the space between them. Devin kept glancing at Rachel, noticing small things he had forgotten. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The delicate freckles on her nose that only showed when she wasn't wearing makeup. How had he stopped seeing these details? When they arrived home, Devin hesitated at the door to his office, that familiar pull toward work tugging at him. His phone had buzzed 17 times during the therapy session. 17 urgent matters that his team insisted needed his immediate attention. Devin? Rachel stood in the hallway, watching him. He looked at his office door, then back at his wife. This was the first test. The first of many small choices that Dr. Morrison had talked about. Devin pulled out his phone and typed a quick message to Emily. Handle everything. I'm unavailable until tomorrow morning. True emergency only. He powered off the phone completely and slipped it into his pocket. Rachel's eyes widened. Did you just turn off your phone? I did. Devin walked past his office and toward the kitchen. You said dinner together? No distractions. I meant what I said in there. I want to try. Something flickered in Rachel's expression. Not quite trust, but maybe the beginning of hope. I was thinking we could cook together. We used to do that, remember? Before the house got too fancy and you got too busy, Devin did remember. In their first apartment, a tiny place in Capitol Hill, with a kitchen barely big enough for one person. They had squeezed in together, making meals that were more laughter than culinary success. When had they stopped doing that? What should we make? He asked. Rachel opened the refrigerator, surveying the contents. Their housekeeper kept it meticulously stocked with expensive ingredients that usually went to waste. How about pasta? Nothing fancy. Just simple carbonara, like we used to make. They worked side by side at the kitchen island. Devin was clumsy at first, out of practice with such domestic tasks. He burned the pancetta twice before getting it right. Rachel laughed when he cracked an egg and half the shell fell into the bowl. I'm not very good at this anymore, Devin admitted, fishing out pieces of eggshell. Neither am I, Rachel said softly. I stopped cooking when you stopped being home for dinner. The words stung, but Devin didn't deflect or make excuses. I'm sorry. For all those missed dinners? All those times I chose work over you? Rachel was quiet for a moment, grating Parmesan cheese. I need you to understand something, Devin. I don't expect perfection. I never did. I just wanted to feel like I mattered to you as much as your business did. You matter more. Devin set down the pasta spoon and turned to face her fully. I was so focused on building something that couldn't be taken away that I nearly lost the only thing that actually matters. Rachel's eyes glistened with tears. Pretty words are easy. It's the actions that count.
I know.
That's why I'm here, making terrible carbonara with you instead of on a conference call with Tokyo. Small smile tugged at Rachel's lips. It's not that terrible, though you did use way too much pepper. They ate at the kitchen table, not the formal dining room they used for entertaining. The pasta was indeed too peppery, and the sauce wasn't quite right. But Devin couldn't remember the last time a meal had tasted so good. Tell me about your day, Devin said. And I mean really tell me, not just the highlights. Rachel looked surprised by the question. My day? Yeah. What did you do before the therapy appointment? Rachel set down her fork, considering. I went to my old studio space, the one I gave up when we moved into this house. Devin hadn't known she still visited her old studio. What's there? My painting supplies. Some canvases I never finished.
Ow.
Rachel's voice grew softer. I've been thinking about starting to paint again. Maybe even taking on a few small design projects. Nothing major. Just enough to feel like myself again. Why haven't you? Because I didn't think you'd support it. You always said I didn't need to work, that my job was to maintain our home and be available for your business events. Devin felt shame wash over him. I said that. Multiple times. You made me feel like my career was a hobby, something quaint that I did before I married someone important. Rachel, that's not what I meant. At least, I don't think that's what I meant. Devin ran his hands through his hair. Maybe I did. Maybe I was so caught up in my own success that I couldn't see how I was diminishing yours. I was good at what I did, Rachel said, her voice gaining strength. I had clients who loved my work. I created spaces that made people happy. And I gave it all up because you made me feel like it didn't matter. It matters. You matter. Your dreams, your passions, your work, all of it matters. Devin reached across the table and took her hand. I want you to paint again. Take on projects. Build your career back up. I should have been supporting that all along. Rachel studied his face, looking for sincerity. You really mean that? Do. And I'm sorry it took almost losing you for me to realize what an idiot I've been. They cleaned up the kitchen together, falling into an easy rhythm of washing and drying dishes. It was such a simple domestic task, but Devin found himself enjoying it. When was the last time he had done something this ordinary, this human? As they finished, Rachel turned to him. Dr. Morrison wants to see us twice a week. Are you willing to commit to that? Devin thought about his schedule, the meetings he would have to move, the deals that might be delayed. Then he thought about Rachel's face when she had said she was considering divorce. And the choice became simple. I'll be at every appointment, he promised. Over the following weeks, Devin discovered just how difficult keeping that promise would be. Not because of the time commitment, but because therapy forced him to confront parts of himself he had been avoiding for years. In one session, Dr. Morrison asked him to describe his perfect day. Devin started talking about successful product launches and profitable quarters before he realized what he was doing. That's your perfect work day, Dr. Morrison corrected gently. What about your perfect life day? If work didn't exist, how would you spend your time? The question stumped him. Devin couldn't remember the last time he had defined himself by anything other than his business achievements. Rachel had answered immediately. I'd wake up slowly, maybe paint for a few hours in good light. Have lunch somewhere with a view. Spend the afternoon reading or exploring a new neighborhood. End the day cooking a good meal with someone I love. Simplicity of her vision had made Devin realize how complicated he had made everything. He had been chasing bigger, better, more successful. When happiness had been waiting in quiet moments, he was too busy to notice. He started making changes. Small at first, almost invisible. He began leaving work at 6 instead of 9. He started asking Rachel about her day and actually listening to the answers. He joined her in the old studio she had rented again. Sitting quietly while she painted, not trying to fix or improve anything, just being present. Rachel had been hesitant at first, clearly waiting for him to slip back into old patterns. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, something began to shift between them. One Saturday morning, Devin woke to find Rachel's side of the bed empty. He found her on the back deck, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunrise over the water. Room for one more? He asked. Rachel looked up, surprised. You're awake. It's barely 6. I didn't want to miss this. Devin sat beside her, and she shifted the blanket to cover them both. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky change from deep purple to pink to gold. Seagulls called in the distance, and somewhere a neighbor's dog barked. Ordinary sounds of an ordinary morning, but Devin felt more at peace than he had in years. I used to watch the sunrise alone all the time, Rachel said quietly. I'd come out here and wonder if you even noticed I was gone. I notice now. Devon wrapped his arm around her shoulders. I notice everything now, like how you hum while you paint, and how you always drink your coffee from that chipped blue mug, even though we have dozens of perfect ones, and how your eyes light up when you talk about a design project you're excited about. You're really trying, aren't you? Every single day. Sometimes I still want to check my phone during dinner or cut our time short for a meeting. But then I remember how close I came to losing you, and nothing seems more important than this. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Dr. Morrison asked me something in our last individual session. She asked if I still loved you. Devin's heart clenched. What did you say? I said I never stopped loving you. I just stopped believing you loved me back. Rachel turned to look at him, her eyes serious. But lately, I'm starting to believe again. I do love you, Rachel. More than I knew how to show. More than I had words for. You're not just my wife. You're my best friend. My partner. The person who makes everything else make sense. I just forgot that for a while. A long while, Rachel corrected. But she was smiling. Too long. But I'm done forgetting. I'm done taking you for granted. Devin kissed her forehead softly. Every day, I'm going to choose you. Choose us. I promise. 3 months after that first therapy session, Devin did something that shocked everyone who knew him. He stepped down as CEO of Tech Vision Industries. You're doing what? His business partner Nathan stared at him across the conference table. I'm transitioning to chairman of the board, Devin explained calmly. I'll still be involved in major decisions, but the day-to-day operations will be your responsibility. You've earned it. But Devin, this company is your life. No, Devin said firmly. It was my excuse for not having a life. There's a difference. The news sent shockwaves through the tech industry. Articles speculated about Devin's health, his mental state, whether Tech Vision was in trouble. But Devin ignored them all. He had spent years caring what the business world thought of him. Now he only cared about what Rachel thought, on their 8th wedding anniversary. Devin took Rachel back to the small Italian restaurant where he had proposed. It wasn't fancy or exclusive, just a family-owned place with red-checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. I can't believe this place is still here, Rachel said. Looking around with delight, called ahead to make sure, Devin admitted. I wanted tonight to be perfect. They ordered the same meal they had shared that night 8 years ago. Margarita pizza and house wine. As they ate, Devin pulled out a small box. This isn't what you think, he said as Rachel's eyes widened. Well, it is, but it's also different. Inside the box was a simple silver band, elegant and understated. Nothing like the massive diamond engagement ring he had given her the first time. Rachel, 8 years ago, I asked you to marry me. You said yes, and I thought that was the end of the story. That I had won, achieved the goal, checked the box. Devin took her hand. But I was wrong. That was just the beginning. And I spent most of our marriage forgetting that. Tears were already flowing down Rachel's cheeks. So I'm asking you again, but differently this time. Rachel Matthews, will you let me spend the rest of my life showing you that you're seen, valued, and cherished? Will you give me the honor of being your true partner, not just in name, but in every way that matters? Will you marry me again, for real this time? Rachel was crying openly now. Yes, Devin. 1,000 times yes. Devin slipped the ring onto her finger, right next to her original wedding band. This one represents the marriage we're building now. The one where we both show up, where we both choose each other every day. I love it, Rachel whispered. I love you. I love you too. And I'm going to spend every day proving it. 6 months later, they renewed their vows on a beach at sunset, just the two of them and Dr. Morrison as their witness. No elaborate ceremony, no hundreds of guests, no business associates to impress. Just two people recommitting to each other with full hearts and clear understanding of what love really required. Rachel wore a simple white dress, her hair loose and wavy in the ocean breeze. Devin wore khakis and a linen shirt, barefoot in the sand. As they spoke their vows, the sun painted the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. I promise to see you, Devin said, his voice thick with emotion. Every day, and every moment. I promise to listen when you speak, to support your dreams as fiercely as my own, and to never again let work or anything else come between us. I promise to believe in us, Rachel replied. To trust that we can work through anything as long as we face it together. I promise to keep choosing you, even on the hard days, because you're worth fighting for. They exchanged rings as the waves rolled in, washing over their feet. It felt like a baptism, a washing away of the old marriage and a blessing of the new. 2 years after that moment on the beach, Devin sat in Rachel's expanded studio, now a thriving design firm that employed 5 people. He was supposed to be reviewing board proposals, but instead, he was watching his wife consult with a young couple about their first home. Rachel's face glowed with passion. She showed them fabric samples and paint colors. She was in her element, creating beauty and joy for others. Devin felt a swell of pride that he had almost destroyed this brilliant, talented woman by making her feel small. Mr. Matthews? One of Rachel's associates approached him. Your wife asked me to remind you that you promised to leave by 5 today. Something about a cooking class. Devin checked his watch and smiled. Thank you, Jennifer. I almost lost track of time. He packed up his laptop and walked over to Rachel, waiting until she finished with her clients before interrupting. Ready? He asked. Rachel's face lit up. Let me grab my purse. As they drove to the cooking class they had signed up for together, Rachel reached over and squeezed Devin's hand. Happy? She asked. Devin thought about his answer. 2 years ago, he would have defined happiness by quarterly earnings and market share. Now, happiness was this: holding his wife's hand while driving to learn how to make fresh pasta, having dinner together every night, waking up to her smile, being present for every ordinary, extraordinary moment of their life together. Incredibly happy, he said truthfully. You more than I ever thought possible, Rachel replied. You know what the best part is? What's that? I believe it now. When you say you love me, when you show up, when you choose me over everything else, I believe it all the way down to my bones. You're not the man I married 8 years ago, Devin. You're someone better. Someone real. Devin brought her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. I'm the man I should have been all along. The man you deserved from the beginning. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life being grateful that you gave me a second chance. As they pulled into the parking lot, Devin realized that jealousy and suspicion had led him to the message on Rachel's phone that day. But what he found wasn't betrayal. It was truth. The painful, necessary truth that his marriage was dying because he had stopped tending to it. That message had been a wake-up call. A gift disguised as a crisis. It had forced him to confront the man he had become and choose to be someone better. Sometimes, Devin thought, you have to nearly lose everything to understand what truly matters. And the greatest love stories aren't about perfect people who never struggle. They're about flawed humans who decide that their relationship is worth fighting for, worth changing for, worth showing up for every single day. As they walked hand in hand into the cooking school, Devin smiled. This was his empire now. Not the tech company, or the money, or the success. This quiet, beautiful life with the woman he loved. This was everything. And finally, after years,